What would instantly ruin a date for you? I went on a date about a year ago. It was going well until she started boasting about all the celebrities she'd slept with. I'm not a prude, but it's a weird thing to tell someone you've just met. Was kind of an instant turn off, to be honest. Overpowering aftershave, cologne, bad body odor. He invited me to Chuck E. Cheese on a date. He was 100% serious. He said they had good pizza, free soda refills, and it was a good way to remind ourselves why people should never have children. If he were joking I would have known it, but he was totally serious. I once had a girl ask how I knew how to be a good person without the Bible. There wasn't a second date. Wake up to food poisoning. I'm talking the kind where you're literally sitting on the toilet exhausted. Trash can between your legs. Spewing from both ends at the same time. It's only ever happened to me once. But God, did it suck. Because that's how I am. How I roll kind of attitude about really uninteresting subjects. I dated a girl that had this mentality about tattoos and would not stop talking shit or change subject. Just because she wanted to justify her actions with "yo, this is how I am brah," like, nah girl, I'm out. I'll have another glass of wine. He's paying anyway. If a man tells a story about a time that he didn't rape someone, especially when the story tells that he totally did. So, I'm on a second date with a man and he decides to tell me this tale. The story goes, he had a house party and this girl got too drunk to get herself home. He told her she could spend the night. He'd sleep on the couch and she could stay in his room. In the middle of the night, he goes into his room, gets in bed with her, and starts to take off her clothes. She resisted a little, but she was definitely just playing hard to get. We were definitely flirting earlier, so I knew she was down with it. And besides, why else would she ask to stay over? Since she didn't freak out or try to run away or anything, it definitely wasn't rape. I mean, she stayed the whole night after all. It's not like she had recently been blackout drunk and still in a state that she couldn't get herself home. No, nothing like that at all. She wanted to sleep with him, but she told her friends about what happened and they've been spreading lies about him. So he just wants me to hear his side of the story first before anyone tries to warn me about him or anything malicious like that. Absolutely not. Nope, no thank you, goodbye sir. I had a first date with a guy who only told stories about doing goofy things with his buddies when drunk. They were you had to be there type stories, but he was talking like they were the most interesting and hilarious stories, and you could tell he thought his stories made him an interesting person. I can talk about pretty much anything: traveling, politics, music, stupid dad jokes. But I was not interested in reliving the highlight reel of his drunk escapades. I could tell he thought I was boring because I didn't have any crazy drunk stories to tell. Needless to say, there was no second date. Well, I had this one Tinder date where I made a couple jokes about the people I work with being shitheads, and she took that as free license to spend an hour detailing how she hates everyone she works with or is related to and yada yada. Never been so happy to leave a date. Acting like they are doing you a favor simply by being there. I've been in a lab too long. I read this as what would instantly ruin data for you. Just so you know, I'm not paying for this. I'm a guy and this would pretty much ruin it. Hey, where are you with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Got to second base with him last week. As a Trump supporter. Negative commentary about the physical appearance of someone else at the venue. Look at this fat sitting next to me. Has aisle seat. Her 2 kids coming along with no previous mention of them. Plus lying about her age by at least 15 years. Oh, and if her mother came too, who spoke no English. Her kids asked me if I was going home with them that evening. Yeah, no way. She interrogated me about how many girls I currently talk to. I have no problem with that since we met through Tinder. However, this could wait at least a couple of dates in, not in the first 10 minutes. If we were at a restaurant, being rude to the waitstaff, making rude comments about other people there, talking about the dreaded ex, constantly looking at her phone, that would just tell me she's not interested. So why should I be looking at every single thing through a negative lens? It's okay to be positive sometimes. My ex-wife was a model, like an actual paid model. She was the total package. But as I get older I'm a lot less picky about looks. Smiles at me like he should receive a gold star for his bravery at being seen in public with me, who is apparently Quasimodo with leprosy and body odor. Say autistic as a slur and I can assure you, you won't hear from me again. If we met through an app and they don't look like the pictures. They bring her friends over like it's a hangout for the girls. When they bring a +1. And it's the parole officer. Being rude to wait staff if we are out. I've seen a guy tip $2 on 2 entrees. And app. And plenty of drinks. Generally toxic behavior. Being insensitive, selfish or dominating the conversation. Dates are about understanding and enjoying each other. If you go on a date purely to enjoy yourself, that's a ruined date. That's not to say you can't enjoy yourself, because that's important. But if that's the only thing you're there for, and the person you're dating is the last thing on your mind, then that's a bad date. They keep staring to the screen non-stop. Don't worry about using a condom tonight. I'm already pregnant. True story. Actually, she seemed to think it was funny. I didn't. Still being in a relationship. Had a coworker. We got close as in hanging out for hours every other day for weeks. I am invited to her place for a day of baking and binge drinking. Mentions her boyfriend. Turns out she started approaching me a week after her relationship turned into LDR. Cancelled the date as I was uncomfortable with that. They broke up in a few weeks after that. Her previous relationship ended, started the same way. People, respect your partner enough to not start to establish a new relationship before you are out of a failing one. It is a major red flag and leads to all kind of trust issues. Me. So what do you do? Her. Well, I'm regional director of MLM. This one is very specific to me, and is stated in any dating profile I create. But smoking. I tried dating a girl that smoked, but the smell, taste lingers. So I don't even try to date smokers anymore. If they show up, and end up going outside for a smoke, date's over. Can't have dates ruined if you never go to one. If he tries to control me, or if he wants to have kids but think he can convince me or try to make me pregnant against my will. Sounds like a lot for a first date. Being late. If we make plans for a certain time and you are late, you could be the most gorgeous person in the entire world and have an awesome personality. But if you are late, I'm sorry but you aren't getting a second one. They were so arrogant and said that they usually didn't ask for second dates. But I was the exception because I wasn't on my phone at all, and they bragged about themselves the whole time. Ugh. Bringing a parent along. He would not stop making date rape, roughy jokes. After his third joke about sprinkling something in my drink, I told him one more joke like that and I'd be leaving. I picked up my beer and he said, "You're awfully trusting." Put the beer down and walked out. I did not get roughied that night. I did stay WAAAY too long on that date. My wife showing up. Being only 10 minutes into the date at a coffee shop and she starts talking about how her stepdad used to rape the hell out of her when she was 12. This actually happened. Yikes. She doesn't need to date. She needs to see a therapist. It seems the stepdad was the rapist. I don't know. I don't really like dates. I prefer raisins. If they're rude to the waitstaff, bartender or any person providing a service. No common interests, utter silence. Any mention of Amway. When they start talking about their ex, especially if it seems like she's not over him. Had a decent if unremarkable dinner with a guy who spent most of the night going over his career path in detail and pondering aloud his next career move. Guy came back to my place. We sat on the couch. Roommate's overly friendly cat started doing that kneading thing on his lap. He says, "Would it be too forward to ask you to do this instead?" Duh. I walked him to the door. Wasn't attracted to him. Dinner was meh. The comment sealed the deal. I want to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. them not looking how they did in pics, online. Went on a Bumble date. Date had about 50 more pounds than her pictures did. I've had this happen once also. She was also an absolute wizard with makeup and didn't bother wearing any to our date, which is fine. With these two combined, I would have never recognized her if she didn't come up to me when I was nervously trying to spot her. Being rude to the servers or anyone they need to interact with. I once went on a date with someone and part-way through there was a young boy in the restaurant who appeared to have sensory overload and started to have an episode. I felt bad for the kid. My date later says, "Man, people with autism really weird me out. I was diagnosed as being on the spectrum and it's kinda like looking at one of those image puzzles. If you know I am, you totally see it even if it isn't otherwise apparent to most." Needless to say, it ruined my date. I have been single for 3 years until recently and have dated a lot. Most of the time it's been fun and most people have been genuinely lovely. These things have ruined a date for me. Don't assume you are way smarter than me. It's condescending and there won't be another date. If I don't know something I will happily let you know and ask you to explain and will be pleased to learn something new. Your doctorate in mathematics doesn't automatically make you an authority in ancient Roman history. Dave. Racist comments. I am not in on your jokes because you think I have the same ethnic background as you. They suck and you look like a tool. Take too long to flirt with me. I will assume you are not interested in me sexually or not very sexual. I like being sexual. I suppose this isn't so much an instant turn off but a slow realization. Any kind of dishonesty, including how clever they scammed some small business in giving them something for free. Thank you for letting me know in advance you're a terrible person. Take too long to flirt with me. Well, shit. Also flirting with them too soon. There's a 2-minute window you need to hit. It doesn't help when you say that you're a registered sex offender across the restaurant. For everyone to hear, and turn their heads, and silently judge me. Bad breath without question. But if they had bad breath and ask you about your day, it's okay. Self-immolation would be pretty stressful, I would think. Rude to waitstaff. 2 things. Bad breath. Suspect questions. So on an unrelated note, do you like penguins as pets? A lascivious performance complete with vulgarity and invading my personal space to touch my face and hair. He adjusts himself as conspicuously as possible in his trousers to imply he's aroused. He labors under the misapprehension sex is presumed to be happening immediately because he has the audacity to book a hotel room proximal to the restaurant. The date was not only ruined, I developed an aversion to dining situated anywhere near a hotel when on a date. I felt like I was in a porn simulation. It's entirely plausible he was emulating a porn without plot fanfic he'd written. Cannibalism. Several centaurs showing up and demanding that they escort me and the date to safety. The date happens to be a minor royal of the centaurs through marriage and a couple of times removed, but is nonetheless carrying a little bit of centaur DNA. Then while we're being escorted to safety, I happen to ask what the big deal is. And apparently there is a coup taking place in Centaur homeland and the Duchess is in danger. Well, all the royals are in danger. As we're walking, one of the centaurs hands me a NDA to sign to say that I can't repeat any of the details of the date up to that point. I think this is just crazy. It's clearly just a big story to get out of a date that she didn't think was going well. But I think it, I'll sign it, but the pen has run out of ink. So we have to stop at the petrol station to buy a pen. The bigger of the 2 centaurs asks me to buy him some sugar lumps, but they don't sell sugar lumps and he's half human anyway, so it doesn't make sense that he'd eat what is known as a treat for full-blown horses. But long story short, 2 centaurs turning up instantly ruined a date for me. If she won't put her damn phone away. When they shit on the desk. Deal breaker for me. One man's deal breaker is another man's fetish. If we had previously discussed over dinner the different homeless ministry work I do, and then later, when we walk by a homeless person, and she says "you, gross." Yeah, that about does it, Megan. If it had gone rotten or moldy. Exhibiting poor hygiene, like teeth picking or not washing their hands or, God forbid, Spitting. Never been on a date where these have happened, but I see this stuff on my commute every day and shudder to think about it happening when I'm out with a guy. Racism. I once went on a date with a woman who seemed super charming at first. Then, once a small group of black people walked into the restaurant. She said, "Oh wow, this place is really going downhill if they are letting them in." It was so out of nowhere that I was just dumbfounded for a minute. So, do I get a blowjob tonight? A friend had this asked of her on a first date. They had chatted on the phone prior to going out. She got up, paid for her drink and knocked out of there real quick. If we're having a meal at a restaurant and you're rude to our server, I'm done with you. I met a woman on Match years ago and asked her out. We wound up meeting at a Japanese restaurant. She showed up in such rough shape that it was plainly obvious she had no intention of making any effort. She looked like she just came from a workout session. She was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, had no makeup on, and even her hair was a mess. Oh, and she arrived 20 minutes late. I was tempted to walk out right there, but I decided not to. Once we'd finished eating, I asked the waiter to split the check. She looked absolutely shocked, and my reply was, "You clearly weren't looking at this as a date, so why should I?" If they talk about their ex. If they lit up a cigarette. IKR. People these days just ruin their health and life with that. Opens a beer keg for himself. Alcoholics. You guys need to get yourselves checked. Starts eating fried chicken from a gallon-sized bucket. You guys are stupid with your shitty-ass diet. Ties belt around arm and slaps forearm. This bad boy can fit so much heroin in it. Smoke break. Have you heard of Amway? If they don't come. Come or come. Both. I've gotten 2 girls pregnant, but it's no big deal because one miscarried and the other had an abortion. True story. I'm just an asshole. That's just how I am. Nope, nope, nope. Almost always an excuse for a terrible, inconsiderate person.